to President Cyril Ramaphosa, accusing prominent business people of being involved in large-scale corruption at the Public Investment Corporation, PIC. This is the third letter Holomisa has written to Ramaphosa on the alleged corruption at the fund manager of the Government Employees Pension Fund. The document, published on the UDM's website, details how prominent individuals, some with strong links to the government and the ANC, had allegedly unscrupulously received billions of rand in funding from the PIC. General Holomisa has filed court papers demanding that Finance Minister Nhlanhla suspend Machila, who is the head of the PIC, ahead of the disciplinary processes. And meanwhile, responding to the matter as untoward a relationship between Harith general practitioners, or rather partners, and Lebashe investment group with the PIC, the companies have refuted the allegations, saying that General Holomisa's letter is riddled with untruths and innuendos that seek to maliciously besmirch the corporate reputations of their clients, Harith and Lebashe, in exchange for cheap political points. Now, to respond to this further, we have Warren Wheatley, who is Executive Director of Lebashe, as well as Pule Molebeledi, Harith's Head of Investors Relations. Gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome.
Good afternoon.
Well, Mr. Molebeledi, let me start with you. You are refuting the allegations made by the general. On what basis?
Well, let me start by saying that what the general has penned out there is explosively incorrect. He basically is alleging that we have been having an unfair and an irregular relationship with the PIC. Well, let me just say one thing. He does not seem to understand what we do. As an entity, we are a private equity that is an entity that started in 2008, and we started with seed capital from the PIC of about 25 million rands, which we promptly paid back within a period of 18 months. And the PIC generated, some sort of profit out of that. We have proceeded then from there to raise about $630 million for the first fund from leading financial institutions that are respected in South Africa and as well as in Africa. We proceeded as well to even start the second fund, which is a $435 million fund. So out of the 25 million rands that the PIC gave us as seed capital in 2008, we've managed to raise about $1.2 billion, which we've invested in signature mega infrastructure projects like Lanseria, for example, Kelvin Power Station in South Africa, Dark Fiber Africa, which is a 10,000 kilometer worth of fiber cable company in South Africa. We've done an undersea cable linking the entire west coast of Nigeria called Main One, linking Nigeria, the entire west coast right up to Portugal. We've done 2 airports in Tunisia, Enfida and Monastir. We've built a 6.7 kilometer bridge in Abidjan, in Ivory Coast, with a number of other leading, debt providers. We're building currently right now the largest wind farm power station in Africa, in Kenya. It's called Lake Turkana. It's a 310 megawatts power station that is going to provide about 18% to the national grid of Kenya. Mm-hmm. So these things are not just done out of just one taking a lucky packet from somewhere. These are things that are done by highly skilled individuals who go out there and negotiate these complex financial transactions.
Okay, I hear you. Perhaps from a perspective of an investor, it's well and good to have successful investment projects that have generated revenue and the money being paid back to the PIC. But then, does it then not create an impression that you had an unfair advantage given the series of successful projects that you are mentioning now, and of course overshadowing other BEE projects that were applied for and that were unsuccessful? The problem would be you are on the spotlight, you are successful getting project after project financed. What about other people who are being etched out in the application process? Are you not having closer links to the people at the PIC?
Okay, let me just explain again. Sorry, Colin. We raised money outside of the PIC, $1.2 billion. out of the seed capital that we made from the PIC in 2008. The PIC has not given us an extra cent in any of those projects. These are projects that we do and we go and seek out there as investment professionals anywhere else in the continent.
But does your organization have closer links to anyone at the PIC?
Absolutely not.
But then the head of the PIC right now, his head is being hunted down. They want his head, they want, General Holomisa is calling for Mr. Den Machila to be suspended at the moment for these allegations based on where your company has been implicated.
In as far as where we are concerned, there is no evidence that has been put out there. There is no wrongdoing on our part. These things that we're talking about are well structured and well put together deals that are audited and are available for anybody to come and look at. As for Mr. Machila, I'm sure he's able to answer for himself, but as for us, we are a reputable entity that is doing good work, and it's highly skilled and it's appropriately aligned in terms of what we're doing with our investors.
Let me hear from Warren, from the perspective of Lebashe. Here are the allegations against you. What's your response?
Well, Colin, firstly, we believe the General's comments are wildly irresponsible for a person in his position to make statements that are unfounded, unverified, and quite simply untruthful. So that's our first point of departure. Yes, it is true we do have funding from the PIC, but we also have funding from ABSA, Investec, Sanlam, Peregrine, amongst others. In fact, if you had to scrutinize our balance sheet, only 20% of our liabilities are due and payable to the PIC. We've built a fantastic financial services platform, and we will continue building that platform, and we will continue asking the entire market for funding as and when deals come up, including the PIC. We approach them on an arm's length basis, and all our investors and stakeholders, including our debt providers, and more specifically the PIC, have been richly rewarded with every transaction we've successfully concluded with it.
Why do you think there is an allegation leveled against Lebashe that they have closer links to the PIC and you could have unscrupulously acquired funding from it?
Colin, I don't want to speculate as to what the General's motives are or what his agenda is. To me, it can only be one that is based in some type of malicious endeavor, because the statements are untrue. And so there can't be any substance in anything he's put out there. As an example, his letter states that the president needs to hurry up so he can get the documents before they're shredded. If he was sincere in that belief or in that motive, the idea would be to be covert and operate in secret so you could surprise us. Instead, he alerts the world and us by Twitter. Can there be any sincerity in comments like that?
Well, I mean, the statement by the General says that there are several of the transactions involved that associated black empowerment groups that the PIC has funded, and amongst them that were named were the prospective empowerment partner of EOAH, Lebashe Investment Holdings. Now, you are saying that the issue of papers being shredded, you are really contending with it, and you are saying that the General should come out clearly on it. So I'd like to understand from your side of story, in as far as information that is available, are you open to an investigation? And should the investigation come out, what would you say if there could be any allegation that links you? Because you were talking about an arm's length relation and approach to the employees of the PIC. Is there anything that you would hide from the arm's length relationship that you have with the PIC?
Colin, we've issued a press statement this afternoon. It will be released on various platforms. Within that are the contact details for our office, and more specifically my office. The media and any other stakeholders who feel they have a right to the information or are even curious about the information are welcome to contact us and review any of our transactions. And so we open. We would have liked the General to do the same. Instead of starting off with baseless, untruthful accusations.
And if I may add...
Yes, I actually wanted to come to you regarding the question that is coming from both of you regarding you don't know what the motives are. He is saying in his statement that it makes uncomfortable reading when one considers the possibility of a very complicated and opaque scheme that will put at risk the government employees' pension fund. That is the reason that he's mentioning.
Colin, the reason it's uncomfortable and opaque is because he's joining dots that should not be joined. He's trying to find links between Harith and Lebashe that simply do not exist. We don't have common shareholders. We do have common executives, but so do many other entities in the country.
Doesn't it generate conflict of interest if they are working for both yourselves and his company?
No, we don't believe so. Harith is involved in infrastructure development, and Lebashe is building a financial services platform.
Okay, you wanted to add to that?
Yes, I wanted to say that we've actually even written a letter to the president to just, avail our cooperation with any investigation should the need arise. We have nothing to hide, Colin. We are a well-governed organization, and we've been in existence for the past 12 years. We work with leading financial investors who would have picked up any shenanigans should we have had one. In any case, in our governance process.
Just a parting shot. If the inquiry is going to be appointed by the president right now, would you avail yourselves and cooperate?
We will avail ourselves and cooperate, but here's another question that I would like to ask. What will happen to our reputational damage? Who's going to make it good given what has happened right now? Because we know that this inquiry is going to find out that there is nothing untoward. The general is simply wrong.
Your parting shot, sir.
I would like to say that we are open to any investigation, but we would similarly like the general to avail himself to scrutiny and to take responsibility for malicious and fictitious statements.
Right. Well, gentlemen, I'd like to thank you very much for making time to come and respond to these allegations. Thank you very much to you, Warren Wheatley, who is Executive Director of Lebashe, as well as Mr. Pule Molebeledi, who is Harith's Head of Investor Relations. And for our viewers at home, please note that a short while ago, before coming to studio, we did invite General Bantu Holomisa to take part in this discussion. The General said that he will not participate in this interview, and he is saying that he will be vindicated after the commission of inquiry of the public hearings could be taking place, and he is saying that he is allowing you to make your points and state your side of story, and he will wait for the president's response on the matter. So, gentlemen, thank you very much once again.
Thank you.
Right. That's our interview with the gentleman, and we'll keep tabs on this developing story regarding the shenanigans that have been happening at the Public Investment Corporation and the letter that has been written by General Bantu Holomisa to President Cyril Ramaphosa. And we're going to leave it there now. We take a break. When we come back, the headlines once again with Peter and Alicia.